this session we'll start with a meditation. So again, we'll do a shamatha practice, and we'll do this practice that I mentioned in the last session, this the third of the objects, the awareness, or sometimes called shamatha with no object. So again, just to refresh our memory of what this practice is. So in the breath practice, of course, we are aware of the sensations of the breath. In the mind practice, we're aware of our thoughts and emotions and so forth. So in this practice, we're simply turning that awareness upon itself. So this practice is simply about knowing that we're aware, just resting in awareness itself. And again, many people find this challenging, not because it's complicated, because again, it's too simple. It involves basically doing nothing. It's just about being present, knowing that we're aware. That's it. So let's do a little 5-second experiment of just knowing that you're aware. Starting now. Was that difficult? Did you pass out? Did you get completely caught up in distraction? Or did you know you were conscious, you're aware? Easy, isn't it? That's it. That's the practice. It's just knowing that we're aware. So again, of course, the two imbalances are dullness. So in dullness, we can just simply space out and be lost, or we get caught up in distraction. So of course, in this practice, thoughts, emotions, memories, sounds, sensations will arise. But in this practice, we're not paying attention to any appearance. Let them be there. They can be there. It doesn't matter if thoughts are there, sounds there. We're just not focusing on them. We're not paying any attention. We're not trying to block them. But of course, if we pay attention, then we're lost. We're out of the practice. So if we get caught up in some appearance, let it go and just come back to knowing that you're aware. That's the practice. So let's do the practice. And one other thing, of course, like the previous practice observing the mind, this resting in awareness, very much recommended to have the eyes open for the same reason. Helps with clarity, helps to keep us more in the present moment. Also a transition into Vipassana by releasing this false sense of duality, and also to transition into daily life. So let's do the practice. Setting the body into a state of relaxation, stillness, and vigilance. Relaxing more deeply with each out-breath. And with each out-breath, letting go of any thoughts that may have arisen, happily releasing them. And allowing the mind to come to rest in the present moment. Simply becoming aware of the rhythm of your breath. Allowing your eyes to be at least partially open, resting your gaze in the space in front of you, keeping the eyes soft and relaxed, and then simply release all appearances and allow the mind to come to rest, not doing anything at all. Simply be present, knowing that you're aware. All sorts of appearances will continue to arise. Thoughts, emotions, memories, sounds and sensations. But now pay no attention to any appearance. Simply let them be there. They can be there. We're just not interested in them. The only thing we're interested in is knowing that we're aware. So simply rest in that experience of awareness itself. if you get caught up in a thought and got carried away, then simply release all appearances, releasing awareness into space and relaxing completely. Or if you're finding that you're simply becoming very dull, drowsy, or spaced out, then arouse and refresh your focus, sharpen your focus, knowing that you're aware. Resting in awareness itself. questions about the practice before we go back to the text?
It seems like a really nice experience. It's supposed to be.
Nice experience? In what sense nice?
Nice in the sense that I'm here and now.
I mean, in all practices we should be here now.
Yeah, but this one isn't here for some reason.
Well, because that's our explicit focus.
Okay.
In other practices, we're explicitly focusing on an object, not explicitly focusing on being present. I mean, implicitly, yes, but not explicit. And so I think this is why one of the reasons people, when they understand what this practice is, that often people really gravitate to this practice. One is that we have that presence, and often then, of course, because of that, we're not tend to be caught up in a lot of this obsessive compulsive thing, so we can have a little bit of a rest from that, so that's nice, that's good. And the other one is that, you know, we're really starting to touch on the nature of the mind here, our inner nature. So often it feels like somehow like we're coming home, you know, to what our true nature is. So that's often why people resonate with this practice.
Still don't understand the difference between this and the mind focus meditation.
The difference is the emphasis. In the mind, we're emphasizing, we're focusing on appearances. That's the emphasis. In this practice, the emphasis is on the awareness to which the appearances appear. So it's just an emphasis of focus. Of course, we're not talking about two different things. We're just talking the emphasis. The mind, we're emphasizing the appearances. In this practice, we're emphasizing the awareness itself. And of course, the appearances appear in that awareness. But the emphasis is on the awareness. They're not two separate, different things.
But the stream of thinking is still there.
Sure, but we're not focusing on it. We're not interested in it. Let it be there. We're not focusing on it. We're interested in the awareness within which all that is appearing. That's what we're interested in.
I feel it's a bit meaningless for me.
Meaningless.
I just can't understand what does it mean to focus on the awareness itself.
Because we're looking for an object, a thing. It's not the object or thing. It's the space within which everything appears. So if we're looking for a thing, this awareness, where is it? We've missed the point. It's not a thing. It's the space within which everything appears.
So how do I do it?
You don't do it. You have to be let go of doing. Let go of doing because we're looking, we're wanting to find something. It's because it's so close to us we can't see it. It's everywhere. It's just being. Again, do you know you're aware now? Do you know that there's awareness taking place? Do you know that?
I believe that.
No, it's not about believing. It's your experience. Are you conscious? Are you conscious?
Yeah.
That's it. That's the practice. Just know that. That's it. Just stay there, knowing that you're conscious. That's it. That's the practice. We're not looking for something, this thing called awareness. Just know that you're conscious. That's it. Again, people find it difficult because it's so simple. It's too simple. It's too simple. We're looking for something. We want to do something. Stop looking, stop doing, and just be. Again, we don't know how to be because we always want to do. It's just be present. Just be present. That's it.
How do I know when I'm in the right state? Like
Right.
I noticed that when I feel like I got there, I'm busy with thinking,
So
my God, I got there, and then I'm distracted.
So how do we know if we're doing this properly? So again, the same two imbalances, dullness and distraction. So if we're completely just spaced out, we're dull, there's no awareness. So that's out, we're out. So if we're just sort of completely spaced and not really conscious of anything, we're in dullness. If we're just blank, then we're in dullness. And of course, if we are focusing on any appearance, we're in distraction. So let go of any appearances, let them be there, we're just not interested in them. and just know that we're aware. That's it. And of course, we will be falling to these extremes. That's normal, because that's what we normally do. So again, if we notice we're getting caught up in appearance, just let that go and come back knowing we're aware. If we start drifting into dullness and just being blank, sharpen the focus. And it's just a balancing act. It takes time.
You mentioned in the morning witnessing.
Witnessing.
Witnessing what comes, what appears.
So
Which faculty does this witness come from?
Faculty.
Well, maybe I don't know the right word to
Faculty.
ask.
Of
Who
course.
is the witness, in other words?
Oh, who's the witness? That's Vipassana practice. And we're going to do that in the next session. So in this practice, and also the mind practice, when people do the practice, they often come up, who's doing this? Who's the observer? Who's the agent? This is all Vipassana practice. So in shamatha, we're not interested in knowing who's the observer. Is the observer same or different than the mind we're observing? That's all Vipassana. So leave it till Vipassana, and we're going to do a little bit of Vipassana in the next session. So we're going to ask this question. That's going to come in the next session.
Relating to the old teaching here, what is the difference or what is the connection between this teaching and the Satipatthana Sutra?
The Satipatthana Sutra is coming from the Pali tradition, and so within that, this is really very much based on these 3 marks of existence. So in the Satipatthana Sutra, of course, there is the Anapanasati, which is shamatha. So Anapanasati is mindfulness of breathing, so that's shamatha practice. Of course, you won't see the word shamatha, because in the Theravada tradition, when they talk about concentration practice, the goal of Anapanasati is jhana, the jhanas, the different levels of jhana. But so shamatha practice is Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, and then of course we're doing the what's called the close applications of mindfulness. On that basis, then we investigate the body, the feelings, the mind, and phenomena. We're investigating, and we're trying to see what is the reality of the body, the feelings, the mind, and phenomena. And how we investigate, we're coming to see 3 things: impermanence, that everything's changing moment by moment; dukkha, or suffering; and no self. So particularly there, the goal of that Vipassana part of the Anapanasati is to come to those insights with respect to body, feelings, mind, phenomena. Okay, let's go back to the text now. So we're down at the bottom of page 4. The second last paragraph, which we finished last session, was now attentively focus mindfulness on the mind's nature of awareness and clarity and observe it single-pointedly and nakedly. So what it's saying here is that we're observing our mind single-pointedly and nakedly. Nakedly here means with what's called bare attention, that we're observing it directly. We're not thinking about it. So whatever shamatha object we're using, we use bare attention. So if we're focusing on the breath with bare attention, it means we're observing the sensations directly. We're not visualizing, we're not imagining, and so forth. So similarly here, we're observing the mind directly. And then it says, when observing in this way, whatever thoughts arise, simply recognize each one. So that's the practice we did this morning. That is the second shamatha practice, that when a thought comes up, observe it. So whatever mental event arises, just observe it. And it says here, such a technique relies upon introspection, to monitor the mind, that noticing when a thought comes up, we observe it arise and pass. And then it says, or alternatively, just like the swordsman's battle with the archer taught in the Vinaya scriptures, having generated strong mindfulness and introspection, as soon as any thought arises, cut it off completely, not allowing it to continue. So this is really the practice we just did now. And that is, so when it says to cut off any thoughts, it doesn't mean try and block them. It means cut off, means don't focus on it. Cut it off means don't focus on it. And we see this described again in this book from Alan Wallace, Attention Revolution. And he describes this practice here, the one we just did, sometimes called awareness of awareness practice. And he says this on page 144. He says, here are quintessential instructions by Padmasambhava on the practice of shamatha with no object apart from awareness itself. So, of course, Padmasambhava was the Indian master in the 8th century who brought Buddhism to Tibet, specifically the Dzogchen system of practice, very close to this Mahamudra system. So also Dzogchen is all about nature of mind. So now he's quoting from Padmasambhava in his text. He's saying, vacantly direct your eyes in the space in front of you. So again, eyes open and just resting your gaze in the space in front of you. See that thoughts pertaining to the past, future and present, as well as wholesome, unwholesome and ethically neutral thoughts, together with all the causes, assembly and dispersal of thoughts of the 3 times, that means past, present, future, are completely cut off. Cut off. And so here it says, therefore, bring no concepts to mind. So we're not focusing on any